the man himself. At some point, we're going to settle into a Friday routine with Brian Geisinger, but because we've been moving it around at times, and now, last I checked, today is Thursday, but I'm not going to be here tomorrow, so I wasn't letting anybody else talk to Brian Geisinger when I can. Brian Geisinger, our NBA guru at bgeis_bird, 24/7 Sports, Pack Pride, everywhere. And, of course, the Substack, Split the Action, which gave you a full preview of what State would need to do better against Texas. We will get to the Wolfpack, maybe in a more general sense, talking about that preview in a second. But you, sir, were at Cameron Indoor Stadium for another banger of a college basketball game last night as Duke took on Auburn. Let's just start real quick here. Auburn is national championship caliber good, right?
Absolutely. Came in best offense in the country, heading into last night. A unique team to have to prepare for. Lots of shooters. They've got a guy with Tahad Pettiford who can create off the bounce. They've got Janai Broome, who's probably been the best player in the country so far, and is just like the perfect, big guy to have in college basketball. Almost like, not identical to Kyle Filipowski, but like, a 6'10", 7-footer that can pass and handle and post up and, beat you up on the glass, just basically do everything. And they're good on both sides of the court. I mean, top 10 in the country on both sides. And that offense is unique and versatile. And I think actually, they took some of their versatility scoring the ball last night. They had a great offensive game at Duke. And to have 4 wins against teams like Iowa State, Houston, UNC, Memphis, those are some of the best teams and best defenses in the country. And, Auburn diced all of them up, including Duke. They still scored very efficiently last night. So, yeah, I think absolutely this is a team that has Final Four potential.
All right. Now, maybe we can see them again because that was a fun basketball game. Great pace. Obviously, tons of talent and NBA talent as well. All right. So we thought going into the season, Brian Geisinger, that we would see only cameos from Isaiah Evans. And my son has been saying, Slim's got to play. Slim's got to play. I mean, I can't tell you how many times he said it because my kid goes on YouTube and watches all these videos. And I'm going to echo what he said. Slim's got to play. He changed the game in the first half.
Yeah, well, look, the caveat with Isaiah Evans and Darren Harris was those guys, they're probably going to get pinched unless one of them just shoots it. And all of a sudden, if one of those guys is like a legit 40+% 3-point shooter on volume, then yeah, that person can absolutely play. And Evans I think he's probably hovering right around 50% for the season. He was amazing last night. He comes in, I think he played just under 16 minutes. Duke outscored Auburn by 16 points with him on the floor. 6 threes, all of them in the first half. All of them assisted. All of them were off the catch. And he got him in a bunch of different ways. Like John Shire ran some actions to get him coming off of down screens in the half court. And then in transition, he's hooking up with Cooper Flagg, who was excellent as sort of like the bridge between Duke's defense and its transition offense. Caleb Foster finds him for a kick out in transition too. I mean, his ability just to come flying off of those down screens and shoot is really tough, especially when Duke gets to that stuff in their 5-out offense where they've got Cooper Flagg initiating up top. They've got Proctor or Tyrese Proctor or Con Kniffel or Mason Gillis, other great shooters running around the court and sort of screwing with some of these defensive coverages. And then they've got Kaman Malawach or Malik Brown setting those down screens and creating separation. And I don't know, all hats off to Evans. He was just unbelievable, and he absolutely swung a game that looked like it was going to get turned dark early for Duke. I mean, it was a fair amount of Auburn fans there last night. They came out with that huge run. Duke clawed back, then Evans comes in a few minutes later, and they kind of hit the gas after that, and it turned into a hell of a game. And yeah, Evans, unbelievable performance last night. And if he keeps shooting it like that or some version of that, then yeah, he has to play for them.
I think he helped them even when he didn't shoot it in the second half. getting on the floor to create that jump ball situation, which started a run of contentious behavior, which sent everybody to the monitor a few times. Curious that there were certain things that were allowed to go, but honestly, no harm, no foul. Let's just play. We wasted time at the monitor, though. But, man, I just loved his energy. There's an explosion to him that I think Duke really needs on the wing, because I don't know that they have explosion at some of those other spots. But also, real quick, because I want to mention two other players, because I thought everybody who played really, for the most part, everybody played well for the Blue Devils. You have to beat a team like Auburn. But I thought Malik Brown was next level excellent defensively. And I thought it was exactly the kind of game that they need Tyrese Proctor to play.
Yeah. And just last note on Evans, like when he's running around like that, it opens stuff up for other guys too.
Yeah.
You know, like it opens up stuff for Sion James. It opens up stuff for Caleb Foster to drive. When he's moving around and shooting like that, it creates problems elsewhere for the defense. But yeah, with Brown, I mean, what can you say? Have you seen a better defensive player in the country this season? Like, he does everything.
Unbelievable.
He's guarding the pick and roll every different way. He switches out against guards late in the shot clock. He hard hedges screens. He's got I believe John Shire when he says it. John Shire said after the game last night, he's got the best hands of any player I've ever coached before. And could you disagree with that? They're incredibly fast. I mean, like maybe, Jahlil Okafor had like the softest hands, but Malik's got the fastest. And, the amount of deflections he gets, he had 3 deflections his first 90 seconds in the game last night. Broom post-ups, he's knocking the ball out. That doesn't usually, I've watched most Broom post-ups this season. That doesn't happen that often. And then Auburn's base offense is this spread, high-paced, flex offense that's all about spacing, hard cuts, movement, and they've just been dicing people up with that so far this season. Duke did an excellent job switching those baseline flex screens, taking away the paint, making sure that Auburn didn't get a piece of the rim. And Brown was huge in that. I mean, how many extra passes did he deflect last night?
Yeah.
He's the one switching onto the guy coming off of the screen and then, knocking the ball out of bounds, or at least knocking Auburn, out of rhythm. I think when Duke has these big wins in these types of games, Proctor has his fingerprints all over them. He hit 2 huge shots down the stretch for them, including that one heave 3 that gets followed up by the Auburn guy missing a shot right at the rim. And that was a huge sort of 5-point swing in a vacuum. Proctor's ability to connect them and get them going in transition, where they outscored Auburn 16-0 in terms of fast break points last night. He's just a really clever player who has a good understanding of what Duke is trying to do on both sides of the floor. And I also thought his defense off ball on Miles Kelly after Kelly hit some shots early on was huge. So terrific two-way performance from Proctor. He's been under the radar awesome so far this year.
All right, let me get to the Tar Heels, who have played 4 of the best teams in the country. I think Alabama's good enough to win a title. Obviously, Auburn, Kansas as well. Maybe Michigan State is not necessarily in that category, so that might be kind of an own goal for the Tar Heels. But, Alabama's really good. But what do you think North Carolina's major issue is, other than they don't have a lot of size?
Yeah, they are sort of missing that front court, low post hub in the middle, and after they've gone real heavy spread pick and roll, and they've got the guards to be really dangerous to do that. It's a talented offensive team, and so far they've produced at a pretty high level on that. Nice to see Drake Powell get the start last night. I think long term that's a good decision. Elliot Cadeau with 25 minutes, 1 point, kind of a no-show. Tough game for him.
Yes.
4 turnovers, and that's the second game in a row for him against Alabama where he's really struggled offensively, and it's caused issues for UNC. On the defensive side of the floor, look, Alabama's going to do this to a lot of teams where they just come in, they chuck threes, they're throwing down dunks at the rim, and they just light your building on fire.
Mm-hmm.
They're going to do that to a dozen other teams this season. All of their guards can fly. All of their wings can run and jump. All of them are trying to chuck threes. They're ferocious. But I think UNC, they should have mixed up, pick and roll coverages a little bit more last night, just letting Alabama sort of moonwalk into these pull-up threes when they're sitting in the drop. Like, generally, I'm pro drop coverage. Like, it would be my base defense if I coached. But against Alabama, you might need to do a little bit more than just giving them these, like, predictable looks that they're happy to just, like, walk into in flamethrow. And they've got guys with, like, Mark Sears, one of the best guards and shooters in the country. But then, Aiden Holloway comes off the bench last night too. So they've got tons of talent, pros on the roster. But if you're giving them the same looks, they know what to do with that. And so long term, I feel good about UNC. I have some gripes with the half court offense. And just overall, like, they don't really have a guy that you can throw it to on the block. Like, that was such a central piece of them
right.
For 5 years, and that's gone now. They've got good centers, but none of them are really sort of like the mid-post, matchup beater types.
Yeah, and the reality for North Carolina is that and I thought going into the season that 9 was a little high for them, and I thought, because I'm thinking about ceiling, and I thought 7 was a little low for where I thought Duke's ceiling was. To me, North Carolina, without that element in the middle, they will have to have good guard play. And Elliot Cadeau, it's not that he scored 1 point. It's that I think he attempted 4 field goals. Elliot Cadeau has to shoot the basketball. He has to look for his offense, because when he does that, he'll create opportunities for other players. But I think we've already seen Drake Powell take a little bit of a step forward. I like Ian Jackson. They've got pieces, and I think they're going to be ultimately fine, but I think they're kind of a mid to bottom of the top 25, probably anywhere from 15 to in the 15 to 25 range for my money nationally. Let me real quick before we have to say goodbye to Brian Geisinger at bgeis_bird. Check out the Substack, Split the Action. You did a breakdown of State's trip to San Diego. So what is the overall view? And I know they lost to Texas last night. But there was I know you were at Cameron. There's all sorts of things going on. When you watch the Wolfpack, what are you seeing as their issues on the offensive or defensive ends that they'll need to shore up as we get to conference play?
Yeah, well, the offensive end, I think we talked about some of this stuff before. It's sort of like lack of like shooting team wide. You know what I mean? Especially from deep. And, I mean, Dontre Styles was due for a good shooting performance. Like, he's been playing well, taking good shots in the rhythm of the offense. They've been online, just haven't gone in. He hit 3 threes last night. So it's good to see him get going.
Well, we lost him. All right, well, we have to take a break anyway, so we'll get back to Brian and the Wolfpack. He'll join us next Friday. We'll talk more about the Pack. Gosh. If airline technology was as reliable as mobile telephone technology,
I mean, we pay enough for these cell phones. You would think
ever take off ever.
Yes.
Gosh. All right. Especially since everything is cellular.
Everything. There's towers everywhere.
Yeah. Come on.
Everything's a
Come
signal.
on. Maybe Brian. I don't know. Maybe he's like Boost or something. I don't know. I have no idea. If he's on that Mint.
Maybe with Ryan Reynolds.
Yeah. I don't know, man. How are they getting away with $15 a month?
I don't know.
It's a tin can.
I feel like, yes.
It's a tin can with a string.
Yeah, there's something shady with that one.